we're talking right now about the images we have in this part of the room. When we started this project, we started with the image from Andreas Gurski, the image line 2. It's not in the exhibition, but maybe some of you know the image. So I'm just telling the story how we started this project. When we graduated art school in Zurich, we started to work as photographers and did commercial jobs. And we stopped a little bit during the personal project after school. I mean, we come from an art school where we really did conceptual art projects. But after the school we stopped a little bit. We wanted to earn money. But still we had this idea doing our own project is really important for us. Not to lose like the idea to follow an own project. And during summer when it's really calm, with having jobs, no money was coming in, so we had the idea, and this was actually a joke, that we might copy the most expensive photographs. And by that time, it was the image from Andreas Gurski. So we started to reconstruct this image and worked at the beginning with the original frame. So without the view of the surrounding, but we realized really quick that it's not interesting for us just to copy the image. That's not the point. We really want to show how we did our image, and through that we're kind of questioning photography, how an image is constructed, what can an image tells us, what is true, what's not true. So we have in our work different kind of images, where on the one hand there are images where you know it's totally staged, like Loch Ness. On the other hand we have like the moon, where maybe everyone has an own opinion about it, what happened. And then there are really images where it just happened. But it's not that we are doubting that the moon landing isn't happening. It's more about questioning the photography, really look carefully what you see, and don't believe everything you see on an image.
Yeah, and additional, I can say that we are really believers in photography. That means we believe in the true photography, and what we are doing to show or to show the viewer that we are believers, we show the making of the scene. So we stage everything, and we don't want to cheat the viewer with photo tricks, with perspectives, with flashlight. We show on the surrounding all the materials we have used. So if you want to know how we did the clouds or the explosion of Hindenburg, you only got to look carefully on the image and you will find hints, little hints, what we have done, what we have used to make this explosion look so naturally.
Sometimes you also see their resource material, so you see the original image or the, sort of like what we were discussing this morning, what happens in the studio. And again, that's one thing that in my and Maddie's exhibition, same thing, we're looking at that link between the studio and the finished piece. And a lot of times audiences have no idea what happens in the studio. So again, this work sort of gives you some insight into that in a humorous way. So you get hints to the history of the original image also when you look at their work, as well as the tools they use to create it.
If you have any questions, feel free to ask that.
We want to walk through
We can walk through a little bit. So keep moving. These iconic images show a moment in history, and now you see an image of the Titanic where it a little bit works different, because we don't see the moment of the tragedy. It's before the tragedy. It's actually the last image from the Titanic, and the only image that exists from the catastrophe from the Titanic is only a painting. And we had also the discussion, is a painting interesting for us to reconstruct? And we said no, it's not a moment what the photograph can give us.
And to add this, you see behind the Titanic setup, you see the clouds outside the window, and this is I like very much, because then you see it's just a moment in time. Well, it was a moment in time in our studio. It's a kind of documentary photography, but it's very staged. And the weather behind, they moved, and tomorrow it could have sunshine, but the Titanic stayed. Yeah.
So it's kind of mixing the documentary style and staged photography. I mean, this was the inner image was a moment of in history. It was documentation, and what we did, we staged this moment again in our studio. And then you have the surroundings here, where you see all these tools and material what we are using. This shows like the documentary part of this work, but probably, I don't know if you trust us that this is really not staged. I mean, we are photographers, we are studio photographers, so we really look at the end when we are finishing the image, how the surrounding looks like. So also this is kind of staged. The only thing what we are not having under control is the weather outside, when you see outside of the window. But still, it's a selecting of the perfect image, or saying at what time we want to do the image in the studio.
And we are working now since 5 years on the project. Well, we do this part-time, and probably it takes about 3 weeks for every image to reconstruct it. Sometimes, if we are busy with other things, they stay for 3-4 months in our studio in a corner, and we work every week a little bit on it. Yeah, and now we have 43 images already, and we could continue forever, because there are always new iconic photographs produced. But sometimes, or we should stop probably
At some point.
And next year in spring we will publish a book with 39 images that are from this series.
One of the things that's really interesting about this work that helps jog this memory is that they really study the original. So they look at the lighting and they look at the camera angle of the original, which is what jogs your memory. If they just did it anyway and didn't, just made a model of this image without that study, I don't think you would have that same flash of recognition, because it looks so much like the original. That one thing I wanted to ask you guys, because this has been asked to me before, what happens to these pieces when you're done with them? What happens to the physical pieces?
It depends on. When we started this project, we had another studio and we moved. So at the beginning, we kind of kept all these things we were building. And when we moved, we got rid of it. But we always keep like little pieces, like I don't know, like Mao or like a trophy for each image. But yeah, it's the thing. I mean, people ask us if we also are interested in showing the work as an installation. For us, it's not really interesting because the light is also very important. Because when you come to our studio and see like a setup, it looks okay, but the light is really important. Without the light, you don't get the illusion you're going to see on the image, and it only works from one perspective. If you step beside or go in the back to look at it, it really doesn't look good. And yeah, and sometimes when we finish our work on Friday and come back in the studio on Monday, like all the clouds we were hanging, they came down. So it doesn't really last for a long time. So we don't keep it that. It's also a question about having space for that.
Exactly, yeah.
Because these setups are sometimes really large. You can't really see it on the image, but the distance to the back is sometimes really large. Sometimes the half of our studio is
Cool.
Yeah, I mean, to get that three-dimensional aspect, they actually have to pull things forward. So, you know, it's not just flat taking up three. You know, like a foot of space, it could take up much more so that you get that sense of depth. I think there's a funny story about this one in particular, was that you made the first tank and it was great fun, and then they made the next tank, and then they made the next tank, and then they started getting bored of making tanks, but they still had quite a few more tanks to make, because as you see, it goes all the way back. So each of those tanks are made by hand. They're not, you know, cloned and then pasted in. So it's that thing that they kind of, that you started one thing thinking it would be fun, and then realizing how labor intensive it is. So, you know, I think that's really important to think about the amount of time that goes into the work as well.
I mean, sometimes we try to look what we could buy that is going to work, but sometimes you have the problem that maybe a model of a tank or something is too large or too small. So mostly we have to build them or put together. Yeah. But it depends on what kind of image it is. For example, we have the one image from the shooting of JFK. If it's a real popular image, then you get that there's this merchandise thing you can buy, like the car or something. But for example, I mean, for Hindenburg, you see the box. It's a model from the Zeppelin. So it really depends on what we find to buy. But yeah, I mean the Mao image. This is what it's called. So the thing about the people on images is really hard for us. I mean, at the beginning, it was really clear what images we want to reconstruct, to work with. I mean, lots of books, like 50 photo icons, where you just look and see what are really the most famous images we have to do. But now it's getting a little bit harder, because at the beginning we tried to avoid the images with people on it. But now we started to do also these images. But like really a close-up of a person is really hard, because we have we really want the authentic look of our work, and so a close-up is really tough to do.
How do you choose which images that you treat as iconic? I mean, because some of them are from, like, this wouldn't be, I don't think it would be as recognizable to as many people as this would be.
I mean, when we started, it was clear what images, because I think the older images that are more real iconic images. When I think Hindenburg, it starts that there were more images produced, because there were just more photographers during this catastrophe. So, and now we have this image from tsunami, where we have to pick one images of this thousands of images you can see on the internet, because everyone has a smartphone, a camera. So there are also some images which aren't made by a professional photographer. Tsunami images from unknown tourists. So it's really tough to do the selection for the newer images. I think one reason is we have to be able to do it. The other reason is it should be interesting for us to do. And of course, it should be some kind of famous. But, yeah.
Did somebody have a question?
Yes. It's more of a technical question, because I saw you made this with the Titanic and also the one with the tsunami, and this one you've made the water very well. And I think it's a really hard medium to recreate or to imitate. So I'm wondering, how do you make the water?
Yeah.
Is it a secret?
In the beginning, it was quite hard to reconstruct anything, because we were photographer and not model makers. So I can tell you that the first image, as Jojakim told before, from Andreas Kurski, the Rhine, it's just the river, grass and sky. And the water we made out of foil, of plastic foil, like the one you use in the kitchen.
Like green from.
Yeah. And when we look at the image from now, or at this time, we see, okay, we would do it better. And with every image, it was like experimenting with model making. We have looked also tutorial videos, and for the water, it's quite special. You have a lot of techniques you can do. And when we made the tsunami image, we tried liquid sugar, we tried gel or wax for the hair, we tried the silicone, this is silicone, and we tried epoxy hearts. I don't know the word in English, epoxy.
It's some kind of glue, like real strong glue.
And epoxy was the thing we used here in the Mao image and in the tsunami image. So it's always trial and error. And when we start an image, it's always the research that is quite important. So we have to look at the image carefully to find out which lens, which camera the photographer used, which perspective it was. And then we choose the lens for our camera. We put the camera on the tripod and make the first image. Probably when I take first image of Titanic, it was just a pen on a table, or something else, just to see, okay, this could be the perspective of it. And then we start to reconstruct the image in front of the camera. That's quite different from other photographers. A normal photographer is meant to be like walking around, taking pictures. We are working together, so it doesn't work for us this way, and that's why we work very staged in the studio. That's why we reconstruct everything in front of the camera. And at the end there is always the question, yeah, who pressed the button for the image? It's not important for us. So.
I guess few photographers are still alive. They have seen the work, and did you get any reaction from that?
Good question. We are, as I said, we are working on the book, and obviously we have to check with the rights also, because it's like when the project started, we liked to copy the Andreas Gurski, and it sold for $4 million $4 million, and yeah, so this might be a problem. So we started to write an email that we will use the image, and for example, Andreas Gurski wrote back he likes the project and it's fine.
But it's more about informing them, because we actually don't see like the reason that we're doing something wrong, because it's
No, it's not about doing something wrong. It's just like get some reactions, whatever they are. But,
from the artists themselves, not.
Yeah, we have several, but not. Most of the image were from a press agency. So these are difficult, because when you inform them, they just ask, okay, you're doing a book, okay, what edition and what size, and they want to send an invoice. So, but normally, when we ask the artist himself, then they normally say, yeah, we like the project, you can proceed. But there is one image from Man Ray, which is not here. Maybe it's because of this case. No, we wrote an email to the Man Ray Trust that we will use it in the book, and we got a reply from a lawyer from the Man Ray Trust that we are not allowed to use it, and it was quite strong for us. And it was like the first negotiation of our approach, and we're still thinking about should we exhibit it or not, and I think we will exhibit it.
But it's not in the book, because the book is a little bit more difficult. I mean, for a show it's I think not a problem. But the problem is with that issue, nobody can tell you like 100% what is happening. For a lawyer, it's just an interesting case. For us, it's a little. We have to figure that out.
By the way, it was Le Violon d'Ingres, the very famous image. I hope everyone has it in his mind. Can you see it? Yeah. No? The woman from the back with the violin. And this image from Man Ray was inspired by Ingres, the painter. And again, if you look on Google, Le Violon d'Ingres, you find on Flickr thousands of images that repeat the same thing. So they do the same. And yeah.
So maybe you should say that you reproduce an image, you reproduce the real one, then you won't get any problem.
Yeah.
There would be a thing like that here.
But in the title, maybe you read already, there is always the reference to the original. So every image, the title is making of, then it's the photographer and the title of the image and the year in which the original was made, and at the back it's our year when we made the image. So we really don't want to hide anything or yes.
So they always give credit to the original author of the work and the date, so you get an idea of when it actually happened. Because I mean, a lot of people, like with the crash of the Concorde, a lot of people are like, oh my God, I totally forgot about that. When did that happen again? And then you immediately can see in the title when it was.
Should we move on?
Maybe I can tell something on iconic images. When does an image get an icon? It's an image which is icon is often reproduced so that you see it several times, not only one time. And for example, here we have a newspaper from Zurich which reproduced the image of Saigon as an anniversary and a reminder what happened there. And yes, you have also in the old images, the old iconic images, as we said before, there are only one or two images, not diversity of image. But for example, the 9/11 image, there was a flood of images at this time, but this was like a video still. It was from a helicopter. They shot the second plane going to the tower, and I can remember the time when I was sitting there and watching TV, and it was over 3 days always the same images that run and came back again to me. And also afterwards there was always showing images from 9/11. And this image was a cover of a German magazine, and yeah, it was also like a favorite image of this event, because 9/11 has other images that are also iconic. Quite important.
We see maybe on this wall, we see an example for two images where we have, on the one hand, we have the image of Loch Ness, what is obviously not showing a monster. It's staged, it's fake. We have, on the other side, we have image by Kappa, the fallen soldier, where we have also, like, for us also interesting, all these backgrounds of an image, where all these theories, if this is a staged image, and Kappa is a war photographer, he's doing documentary photography, and this is like people say, yeah, it can't be. So for us, it's interesting also to work with these images where you're not sure, is it staged or is it true? What else? Sometimes when the iconic images are produced, it's also sometimes real luck, Zufall,
Coincidence?
Yeah, like the White Brothers. It's the image in the next room, where the picture was taken by an amateur photographer. The Wright brothers to give this guy this camera, and he never really made an image before that. So it's sometimes it's really interesting also to know the background of each image.
And each image is iconic because it always refers to something. It refers to this happening, this invention, this war, this accident, and for example, Cots at Auschwitz, you see railway tracks, you see a building, you see a little bit of snow. It's not a bad image which shows the millions of deaths during the Second World War, but this image, if you see it, it always reminds to the Second World War. So it's an iconic image, is very symbolic to something. It refers to something. And most of the image are most about this. We have also images that refer to an invention of press, of bringing images to spread images. For example, the Hindenburg was the first image that was wire transferred. And the moon image, it was not the first live broadcast, but the moon image was a sensation. Millions of people everywhere in the world were at home or neighbors looking on the moon, how they landed on the moon. So it's always also the history of publishing, of media, like it's not only photography, it's also what an iconic image needs to have that it can be shown. Sorry, my English.
I mean, I think also too, it's really interesting the different layers that happen in this work, in the fact that that original, the Loch Ness Monster, was a fake. So now you have a fake of a fake. Here, as they were saying, there was a question about whether this really happened or not. There's apparently multiple images of the fallen soldiers. So once again, it's a fake of a fake. So it makes us question, especially in this time where we're constantly hearing about fake news. Fake news has been around for a long time, you know. But this is that whole idea of reminding you and bringing you back to question it. Like the difference between how we consume photography now and how we consumed photography when the moon landing happened, or when Father Brown got off the Titanic. And Father Brown had been invited to go on the Titanic by a rich person who knew him. He was supposed to only go to Cove and get off. He photographed the entire inside of he was an amateur photographer. He photographed the entire inside of the Titanic, and then had been invited to stay on because he was quite charming. And his brother, who was the bishop of Cove in Cork, told him, "Know your station, get off the boat." And so he got off the boat with a load of glass plate negatives of the entire inside of the Titanic. No one would do that now. No one would photograph the entire inside of any ship crossing anywhere with glass plate negatives. Get up at really early in the morning before anybody was awake and photograph every single room, because this was a really special moment in time. The fact that he was able to get off the boat and have all those later, which they in fact didn't find those glass plates for quite a long time because he put them away. So that's the way we consume photography, the way we use photography to tell stories or make movies or to talk about world events has changed so drastically. And I think this work reflects that as well. So that's another layer that you're looking through all the time when you're viewing this work. Feel free.
Sorry, I have another question. It looks like, it looks like frame in the frame, you can get the original one. Is that the case in all of them? Because in some, I'm not sure about that.
No, it's not in every image the same. Sometimes the border is not exact like that. The feedback sometimes we get when the people look at our images real quick, and they see this image, they have the feeling that it's maybe this Photoshop, like or some image in the image. So we try to mix it. So also where you see more where the border is not exact cut. So it's not in every image. Same.
That's a good point, because the border for us it's the most important part, I think, in our images. And I can tell you the little paper here, the accident in this stage. So it was just too perfect, and I went there. Yeah.
I mean, sometimes we try to put in mistakes where you see, okay, it's not just the image, So it's the problem if you're getting better to produce these images, you have to be careful that the people really understand the image. Otherwise, if you will take a quick look, you see, oh, okay, it's made like that, and it's maybe not interesting.
And in fact, in the next space, there's the red ceiling, which is Eggleston print. And the way you would see that normally, you wouldn't see 3/4 of the bottom of that. But you actually included the whole poster and all the stuff at the bottom that they made it with. But when you actually see that, like somebody said, I know that image, but I don't know which image it is, and I just went like this. And I went, oh, because they're only used to seeing that much of the image. So there's that kind of playing around too, where it's sort of, you'll see something and you'll be like, I know this, but then it's because when you see it, it's been cropped a different way.
I mean, this is the danger if you know like these iconic images, you have this in your mind that you stop really looking carefully at these images. But this is, we like to play with that.
Was also the question for the book. Yeah, should we print our image on one side and the original on the other side? Absolutely no, it's not possible. And then there was the discussion if you should print it in the back, like small images, references for the credits. But no, we decided to have for every image we have a small text about the event of the original image. Well, not of taking photography, taking the image of the event that took place. So it's a kind of history book that we produce.
Is there any other questions? Then I think we will close. And the lads are here, so if you have any questions, you can come up and ask them privately. And thank you again for coming in and spending this time with us to learn more about the exhibition.
Thank you.